Welcome to Love for a Lifetime's Authentic Marriage Podcast. I'm Chris. This is my wife, Brooke, and of course, our good friends, Shawn and Lauren. And today we thought we'd spend some time talking about intentionality a little bit. And the reason we thought we'd talk a little more about this is if you spend any time around the four of us, maybe at one of our date nights with Love for a Lifetime, or maybe you've come out to a dinner with a purpose with Love for a Lifetime, you've heard us talk about this word a lot, intentionality. So we thought we'd spend some time today talking a little bit more about what is it and what does it take to be intentional in your marriage. So first of all, what is it? So pretty simple concept. Intentionality is doing something on purpose with intent, so to speak. So for an example, if I want to run a marathon 4 months from now or 5 months from now, I just can't turn up in 4 or 5 months and run the marathon. It's not going to work out well for me if I try to do that. So I have to be purposeful and put together a training plan, and I have to put in the miles and practice so that I could then run the marathon, because it's not just going to happen if I don't do that. Yeah. Another example, Brooke and I were talking about why this is important is you think about a garden. So Brooke likes to grow.
I try.
She tried to grow. You like to grow. You're a hobby vegetable gardener.
I try.
But tell us a little bit, Brooke. What does it take to grow vegetables?
Well, you have to cultivate the soil. You have to plant the seeds. You have to water it. You have to fertilize it. And then eventually, with the help of the sun and all the things, it will hopefully produce fruit of some sort. Mine don't always, but I try. But the thing is, if I do all that and plant it, and then I just ignore it, eventually the weeds really start to grow. Mm-hmm. And then eventually the plants themselves will just die. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to take care of that garden once it's planted. It's an ongoing thing. It's not just a once and done and move on. So that's a great example of hey, it takes intentionality to get the crops. If you're not doing all those things repeatedly and continuously, eventually the weeds will come in.
I think even in that illustration, the fun part is getting the soil ready and the seeds, and you have all this anticipation and you want to see all this stuff. Uh-huh. And then comes the watering every day and
pulling weeds,
praying for sun and pulling weeds and doing all those things. So
yeah. How about, have you ever, ask this, Shawn, have you ever been driving through the countryside and you see an old house that maybe no one's lived in many years? What does that look like?
Dilapidated.
Yeah. Paint's chipping.
Yeah.
Not something you want to live in.
Not somewhere you want to live. That's a good example. Maybe it's even getting ready to collapse. Mm-hmm. And you think about that. In both those cases, in Brooke's case, if she's not watching after her garden, she's got weeds in a couple of weeks.
Oh, no, days.
Days
the weeds come.
Days.
Yes.
Maybe with a house, maybe it could be neglected and not lived in for a couple of years, maybe even 10 years, but eventually it's going to fall apart and collapse. Mm-hmm. So those are examples of why.
Cleanup of that.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to move into that.
Yeah, it's much easier to maintain than it is to fix it after it's collapsing. So that's
good point.
That's a great point. So, so this is some ideas about why marriage intentionality in your marriage is important. We talk a lot about this, but the idea is actually relatively new. I could tell you that early in our marriage, more than 30 years ago, we weren't intentional. We actually got lucky and were blessed that what did happen though, was we had some common goals in our marriage that helped unite us. What were some of those things that you kind of set us on the right track originally?
Well, first we wanted to graduate from college. So we got married while we were in college. Yeah. And then it was get a job, and then eventually it was get a house, and then eventually start a family. And so those things we would work toward together with intentionality, but not labeling it that way.
Yeah, so early on, we didn't label it intentionality, but we were fortunate that we had some common goals and objectives.
Yeah, as I think a lot of people do when they first get married.
I think for us, though, what we saw, though, was eventually we got off to the start, and we graduated, and we got a job, and we got out of debt, and we bought a house and started a family. But then eventually we hit a point where we started to have different objectives, where Brooke was raising the kids and I was focused on career, and we began to drift. Mm-hmm. because we lost those combined goals and purposes.
And even before that, we weren't being intentional about our marriage itself necessarily. The common causes would kind of bring us together, but we weren't being really intentional about marriage. And I think that's one reason we wanted to talk about that today, was how important it is to be intentional in your marriage, for your marriage. Because if you're not, you can end up, we really hit a point, we just lived parallel lives. And he did his thing, I did my thing, and we kind of saw each other.
So knowing you guys, it's interesting because you guys are very wise financially, right? And you talk about how you guys were intentional about your finances early on.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because you were intentional about that, but you missed a lot of other areas in your marriage, you know?
Yeah.
And so, even if you're focused on one area and you forget the rest, like you're gonna see, there's gonna be some issues, right? Mm-hmm. So it takes intentionality in all different aspects of a marriage.
How long would you say you guys kind of ran down that path where you were drifting before you started to realize?
What do you think? Honestly, I think first, Lauren makes a great point, because I think there was places in our marriage we did well, and there was places we were both frustrated, right? Because we weren't focused on those areas. So definitely that's a great point. We were frustrated in certain aspects of our marriage. I think we probably had, it's probably almost 10 years in the middle of our marriage where we didn't realize we were slowly drifting apart and we had lost some of those common goals and purposes. And and it was a pretty long time, and it happened slowly, so we didn't notice. I don't think.
But I even think from early on, we weren't really involved with church the way we are now. We didn't have community like we have with you guys and our other friends. Like, we didn't know what we didn't know. So I really feel like the first 20 to 25 years of our marriage was spent a lot of this. I did my thing, he kind of did his thing, and we didn't really start to get intentional about it until we learned that, oh, we need to do that. Which sounds silly, but I think if it's not modeled for you, like my parents divorced when I was in college. Your parents have a pretty solid marriage, but they're not real communicative. And so we just didn't really know. We weren't surrounded by friends who had great marriages. It was just, we traveled a lot, so we just didn't know. So we spent, like, our best years of our marriage have been the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
Even better than the first couple.
Oh yeah, definitely the best the last 7 to 8 years of our marriage have been much better because we've changed that focus.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. I think what's really cool about this story is that if people have been married for a long time and they feel like they're living these disconnected lives, that it can come back together, that it's not over and it's not going to just be like this forever. Like, you guys are a really good example, because we've known you as the intentional people who serve and who do these things and who love one another greatly and all that. And we didn't know you in the first, 10, 15 years of your marriage.
20.
So we've gotten to see kind of the fruits of that coming back together, which is a really good thing, that people might think that they're too far gone. And that's not true.
And I love that. I was talking actually with a counselor earlier this year, and she gave me the verse Joel 2:25, which says, "I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten." And that's a promise from God, that no matter how many years you've been not doing it well or drifting apart or whatever the case may be, God is a God of redemption, and he can redeem that. And I find so much encouragement in that. And I want, for people who are listening to this, if they're struggling or it's been really hard, it's not too late.
And when you talk about intentionality too, like, you're going to the Word, right? And I think the Word shows us what intentionality looks like.
Yeah.
And so, and like you said, like, we weren't intentional about community. Well, the Word speaks about being intentional about community. So the areas of your marriage, like, go to the Word to seek what is that we need to be intentional about. And the Lord will show you through His Word. And I just think that's a great example, even just showing you through His Word, like, hey, it's okay. Like, you weren't intentional during this span of time, but I can give that back to you.
Yeah. That's a real good promise to cling to.
Yeah. So I was kind of curious, you guys maybe thinking back early in your marriage, was there something that you were doing intentionally that helped to build and strengthen your marriage?
Well, it's funny you talk about redemption. I think our redemption came a very different way. We had both been married before and did things very wrong, got married for the wrong reasons, went through just divorces, and then we were also blending families. So I felt like we had a lot of baggage and a lot more volatility in our relationship. And so I think that volatility forced us to make decisions at that time of, are we going to stay together? Are we too far gone? Or, those things. And so I remember Lauren really instigated it, and she told me one time, I want to love God more than I love you. I want to love Jesus more than I love you. And I thought, that is the weirdest statement. And now I love that she loves Jesus and loves God more than me, because it keeps her so grounded in him that the love of him flows out of her to me. And it's just been a miraculous thing and redemptive thing, because we were very volatile.
And I would say, looking back, even there were areas that we weren't intentional in, right? Like, we really worked on areas that I think that we were struggling, but even like blending families, that's an intentionality, making sure that you are showing that your stepdaughter, your stepson, like, that you love them and care about them. And that, I don't think that we were great at that at the beginning. We've come a long way, and if we could go back, I think, God's taught us a lot. But I mean, there's intentionality even in that, right? Sure. And so intentionality, there's a lot of different areas in a marriage where you need to be intentional.
We were pretty blessed at one point where we were really trying to love one another well, and it just wasn't working. I wasn't loving her the way she needed to be loved, and she wasn't loving me the way I needed it. And she was in prayer time, and God told her just this miraculous thing that just said, how can I show you love today? And so Lauren started asking me, how can I show you love today? And I would say, discipline your son, or do whatever, like not being very nice about it, right? Just do something. And she would do it. And then the next day she'd ask me the same question, and then she would do whatever I asked. And it took me about a week, and then I go, well, maybe I should do this too. But
at least it came to senses.
It took me a week or so.
Took you a week.
But
that's better than the average, probably.
Right?
It transformed our lives, because I knew what she needed when I would ask her, how can I show you love today? And she would tell me. I didn't have to guess. I didn't have to question. I didn't have to, I can't read your mind. I know Brooke says that all the time. We cannot read each other's mind. And she would just tell me. And as long as I did it, she felt loved. And as long as she did what I asked, she felt loved. And it changed our relationship, because we knew we were both trying to get to that point. We were both making the effort. We were both being intentional about trying to serve the other one. And it was a big transition point in our lives.
Yeah, I just think, we're supposed to be more and more like Jesus. And Jesus was so intentional in everything that he did. And so this is a very important topic.
Yeah, and I love that example, because it connects back to the concept of the love languages. Like, so often we like to show love how we like to receive love. And that question, when you ask your spouse, how can I show you love today? It's making sure you're saying, I don't know. My tendency is to do X. Maybe you want me to do Y. And it's communicating and clarifying that, so you're getting back to what do they need, not do what do I think she needs, because we've married.
You're probably not right.
That's right. We're married a long time, but I'm probably still only 50-50 on guessing what she wants today.
I think it's important, the intentionality of that question for one another wasn't to take advantage of the other. It was legitimately to see what need they had and try to meet it, rather than just, I want to go fishing with the guys today, or, something selfish. It's a very unselfish practice that you want to make sure that you're doing.
And I think it could be a great starting place if people are sitting here listening thinking, oh, I'd love to be more intentional, but I don't know. What does that even look like? How do I start that? And I think asking that question of your spouse could be a great starting point. And whether they reciprocate that question or not, you can't control that. But you can start asking that question, how can I show you love today? And then, like you said, follow through. That's probably a huge part of that too.
It's a huge
follow
part of that.
through.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Definitely. So I think we've talked a little bit about intentionality, what it is. We've talked about a little bit about the risks, but maybe a little bit more about, the risks if you're not intentional. So we talked about, for us, there was that period where we were slowly drifting apart. And it didn't happen all of a sudden, all at once. It was just, she was focused on doing raising the kids and the kids' school, and I was focused on career and providing, and it kind of slowly happened over time. So you can have that drift. You can have other distractions come in, or what some people call the foxes. They can come in and get in between you. That could be maybe it's a hobby that takes over. Maybe you just, one of you has a hobby that just starts taking more and more time and starts filling that time in where you don't have time to work on your marriage. Maybe it is the children. You don't get to date anymore. Maybe it's the internet and social media and all the time you're spending there. And it's amazing how many things compete for our time now, right? They want to get in front of our eyes and compete for our time, whether it's social media and the internet, whether it's our children, whether it's work, or even sometimes even church, right? There's a lot of good activities you can do and good things you can spend time volunteering on, but if you're not working on your marriage, that can get weaker.
Yeah, I think those, and all the things you mentioned aren't inherently bad. They're good things. It's good to have a hobby. It's okay to use the internet. It's okay to do these things, to watch TV, to decompress, to do whatever. It's the distraction part of it where it's distracting you from your marriage and it's keeping you from your marriage. And now the focus is on these things that are maybe joys in life, but now they've become even addictions. They've got, we see kids that we talk to, a lot of younger people that are married, and a big part of it is gaming, like this new internet gaming stuff. Like, I'm blessed that I didn't have that. I had like a joystick and a button, but now these kids have all the headsets and
Atari.
Their community is
64.
locked up in their gaming.
Yeah.
And the community is not with their spouse or their friends, or they're kind of caught up in that stuff. And we see that as becoming very predominantly bad in these marriages. So guys, get off the games. Spend some time with your wife and get to know her, and intentionally spend time to learn your wife. We've been married now 10 years. I don't know as much as I want to know about her. And it takes time to ask and to go on road trips and to be intentional about questions and things.
Brooke, maybe with some ideas. We've talked a little bit about other things that people can do to be intentional.
I think one thing is just, you've got to talk to each other. You have to have open conversations. And sometimes, I know that's been difficult for me at times, is to find, like, when is the right time to talk about this? It's not ever the right time to talk about this. So having time set aside where it's a safe time to talk about things, I think can be really helpful. And then ask, what do you want our marriage to look like? Okay, and it's here and we're here. How do we get from here to there? And I think one of the great practices you can do is that keep, stop, start. Like, what are we doing that we should keep doing? What's working really well? What are we doing that we should stop doing because it's hurting us? And then what should we start doing to help us move toward that marriage that we want to have? And I think in lots of areas of life that can be a good practice, but especially in marriage, like, what do we keep, what do we stop, and what do we start? Can be a really helpful conversation, and then be on the same page about that and make a plan together.
And the planning of these things doesn't have to be like not fun. Like, go on a date and go on a picnic or go on a date or go somewhere you both like to be, and then talk about these things. And the conversations tend to go much smoother than when you're frustrated thinking about work or whatever. Plan a time that you can get away and talk about those things. And I think those are great questions.
Yeah, and I think if you see yourself as a team, you're not just yourself anymore. You're a team. And that in itself takes intentionality to realize, I'm not myself. It's not just about me anymore. And that's why marriage can be difficult for people, right? Yeah. Because we come in with that selfish mentality. But if you really see, we're a team in this. And so it's going to take both of us to be intentional to make this team work.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think some of the good things there is that you don't have to overhaul everything all at once. You can't.
It's not realistic,
it's
right?
Not realistic,
or change everything today.
Right.
Can't change everything today, but to start to make some small changes, to start to pivot, to start to ask that simple question, what can I do to love you better today? What do we need to do? What do we need to keep doing? What do we need to stop doing? And what do we need to maybe start doing? Just simple things that you can start to be intentional about to change the direction of your marriage.
Yeah, my favorite little thing to say about that is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't eat elephants.
I
stick
just, it looks
my
insurmountable,
Or
right?
fish, or
Or fish.
How do you eat a cow? One steak at a time.
But
Very
that
simple.
idea of it has to, break it into these little manageable bites that you can work toward together and achieve, because you can't do it all at one time, and that can just feel overwhelming and you want to give up. And you have to have a lot of grace for each other, which is a whole other talk probably, but you have to have a lot of grace and forgiveness. And so
I think really importantly too, we've been blessed to be in a community of people who are really striving to have good marriages and to teach good marriages. And so I would, the reason we do this with all four of us is because we have such different perspectives. It's not just two people talking about their marriage, which may be unrealistic for the people who are listening, that there's different perspectives. And we have friends that are so intentional in their marriage that have guided us into doing things that we want to do. And there's a younger married couple we serve with, and they're so intentional about their date nights and who plans it, and it's a surprise and all these things, and they have these rules about it and stuff, and they love it, and they're focused on one another, and they're focused on pleasing the other one. And then we have an older group of friends. Actually, I'm the oldest one, so I'd say they're older than everybody else, but they will set times to go and discuss, and they have a whole agenda of things to discuss about their marriage. And then they go on a weekend trip where they talk about, what have I done well this year? What have I done wrong this year? What have we done wrong this year? What have we done right? And kind of like your keep, stop, start. And just for them, it's so intentional. And then they spend that next year really working and focusing on those things. And it's such intentionality in that. And it's impressive to see that.
So I think that's a good way to lead into how can we be more intentional, and we're going to dive into this a little bit more in the next couple of podcasts. But one is, reading the Word together. That's that being intentional. Again, going to the Word. The Word is your identity, and it's going to tell you how to live, and it's going to show you how you can be intentional, because it's going to show you what Jesus did, and we're asked to be like he is.
And I just want to interject there. You said read it together, which absolutely, but I think we were not at that place for a lot of years where either one of us was reading it, let alone reading it together. So even if your spouse isn't in that place where they're ready to start reading the Bible with you, you start reading it. Like, you do what you can do to start growing your relationship with the Lord and your understanding, and pray for your spouse, which I'm sure is probably one of your next points. But you don't have to have that person alongside of you to start doing that.
You're
it's
really
great if
right.
you can.
Yeah. When I had told Shawn that I wanted to love Jesus more, he wasn't really on the same page with me. And so I started reading the Bible, and I started seeking the Lord. And, I would pray that he would want that same thing. And sometimes I would say, do you want me to pray? Do you want me to read out loud? And he finally wanted me to start reading out loud. And then we started wanting to read together. But you're right. It might not be that you're on the same page right away. And that's okay.
And I watched her reading the Bible change her. Right, I saw it soften her, and I saw it do things, made her a little less selfish, right? And I just saw her really focusing on different things in life that began to change. And I think as you notice that, you're more able to say, you know what, maybe I want to be a part of that. I've got some things I need to change too. And
so other ways that you can be intentional is, praying together, right? And we're going to dive into that. Like Shawn said, dating each other. And that's why we have Love for a Lifetime, to encourage people to date one another and to create memories that they probably wouldn't be able to create on their own, right? And serving together, right? Serving and being in community together.
and going back to that, you talked about the last 8 years, your marriage has gotten better.
Yeah.
My guess it's when you guys started serving together, and we started doing all this marriage ministry and all these things, and we went on that retreat. Like, it just...
Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. No, I think it's a great example. Being in community, but also, besides being in Christian community, it was reigniting a common purpose and vision for
Yes.
Brooke and I
Mhm.
Yeah.
about where are we going.
We're finding one, really.
Yeah.
That was a new one for us, and I never thought we'd be in marriage ministry. Look where we were. I mean, right?
But look what God
God
can
is
do.
so
But
cool.
God can do, yeah, absolutely.
And even, intentionally dream together, right? When you become stagnant is not good.
No.
You want to have dreams and goals, and
That's been a glue in our marriage.
It's fun to have that, right? And it has been a glue in our marriage. So these are just ways that we can be intentional, I think. There's many other ways, but these are some of like the core things, I think.
And I think in later episodes, we will have some people that are extra super intentional to just say, wow, what they do is amazing. Maybe we can't do all the things they do, but even an idea here or two. And that's why community is so important. You might hear something from somebody that has a good marriage and you want that. Why not learn from them? Like we've learned so much from you guys, even going down the financial road where you guys teach a lot on finances. It took us 2, 3, 4 times hearing it to go, maybe we should fix ours, right? And then we did. And had it not been for you two leading that and teaching that, we may have never done that. And so that's where the community comes into play. And that's why God wants us in community with people who are seeking him. And you guys dream together. And you guys, you're amazing people. We love serving with you.
Oh, and we've learned so much from you as well. And we're going to hear more about that in the next couple podcasts that we'll do, is how you've really shown us how to be more intentional in terms of being in the Word and praying with each other. And so, like we said, iron sharpens
learn
iron.
from each other.
We do. It matters who you hang out with. Yeah.
So I think we can probably wrap up. I think we can probably wrap up there for right now. I think I just want to, kind of repeat what Lauren went through. 6 ideas a way you can start being intentional in your marriage. First is reading the Word every day, getting in the Word. Second was praying together as a married couple. Date each other. That's something that we stopped doing for many years when busyness got in the way, and it's important that you spend time dating each other. Finding a way to serve each other was number 4.
Serve with each other.
Serve with each
and
other.
serve each other.
And serve each other.
Both are good.
Yes.
Both are important.
Both are good.
Yes, but having a mission, shared mission, is really really strong. 5th was that vision or dreaming together. And then I think the 6th point was something you can do is to make sure you're in community. Community together.
Yeah.
So those were 6 ideas that we wanted to make sure that we could share with how people could be more intentional in their marriages.
Yep.
Let me pray for us,
Yes.
and then we will wrap this one up.
Okay.
Oh, dear Lord Father, we just thank you so much for your love for us. We love that you, and thank you that you have pursued us. You have pursued us even when we were not pursuing you, because you had a dream and a vision for us that we could not imagine, Lord. So we just thank you for your pursuit of us, your love for us, your forgiveness, and what you sent Jesus to do on that cross. We just thank you that you give us this opportunity to come together and talk about what you're doing in our lives, what we're learning from your word, and how we're trying to put it in action in our lives and how we're trying to improve it, Lord. So we just thank you for the provision, the protection you have given to our marriages and all that you do for our families, Lord. And we just ask that you continue to give us wisdom through your word and through your Spirit. Help us to hear your Spirit, Lord. Help us to have the courage to act and to serve you more and more each day, Lord. So we just thank you for all you do for us and all the protection you give for our marriages. And we just pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. So we're Chris and Brooke. They're Shawn and Lauren. And that's all for today on the Authentic Marriage Podcast. We'll see you next time.